Hello there. I'm back to normal. See, Charlie, this is episode 49 of the Holocron Chronicles. My name is Mark, aka the Canardian, and I'm joined as always by my trusty co-pilot, Charlie Carden. Charlie,
Woo!
how
Dragon
you
snakes
doing?
represent.
Dragon Snakes. I love that name.
You
He's like,
bet.
you got dragons, you got snakes.
You got. Yep, that's our X-wing squad.
I like it.
So it would be if we could ever, get it all together. But it exists out there in the head canon, which is what so much of this is all about. So yeah, look at that back party
Also-
time. Oh, whoops, we're losing our guest. Whoops, we're losing the voice from a distance.
So that voice that you heard is our guest, Louis, aka Dins Jarin 327
Yep.
on Twitter, right?
Times two. I keep thinking there's an underscore somewhere, but there is not.
I just wanted to make sure I got the letters right. It's going to be in the show notes. I hope people will follow you as they listen and everything. But, we like to learn a little bit about our guests when we get new people on, and today's going to be no different. But I have to ask Charlie something first. Charlie, a dragon snake.
Dragon
What?
snake is. Oh, I'm sorry. You should ask a question before I start.
Yeah,
talking.
no, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Is it more like a dragon-sized snake, or is it more like a snake-sized
Is
dragon?
this along the lines of a duck-sized horse or a horse-sized duck?
And-
No, it's
And which-
the dragon snake is, though not spoken in canon, and I don't know if it's been made canonical by the comics or whatever it is. That is the swamp creature, the bog creature that attempts to eat R2 on Dagobah. That is a dragon snake.
Okay. All right.
Therefore, the impracticality of the name of it going outside of Dagobah, a hidden lost planet, you don't want to get too far into the weeds and trying to logic that, but it sounds super cool. So, a number of years back with some a friend group I don't hang out with anymore, one of them created this. I named it. One of them created this logo, so I still wear it with pride.
All right. Would you rather fight one dragon-sized snake or 100 snake-sized dragons?
There's no great answer to that question. I mean, I would say I think you'd probably do better off snake-sized dragons because you could squish them, where
Right.
the
Shoot tiny little
dragon-sized
fireballs, but you
snake
can still take it out.
could
Yeah.
just swallow you up whole.
I mean, they got fireballs, and they're coming at you. You guys watch Stranger Things when those things was eating up Eddie? Like I don't
Oh
know.
yeah,
That
very
did
true.
not look pleasant.
Yep.
Yes, but then you consider how things ended on House of Dragons last night. If you haven't seen it,
I have not. I have
So,
not.
I,
All right,
I didn't see it, but I saw some of the clips and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
oh my god, no!
I've
I've my old girlfriend Courtney was posting meme after meme after meme immediately, and it was just
Yeah.
I swear the meme makers were on that as it was happening.
instantly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know how they make gifts that fast. It's
There
wild.
are so many series to get into recently. It's so
Right.
hard. It's so hard. There's a lot going on, and not too much time. But I want to watch the whole Lord of the Rings so I can get into
Yeah,
series coming in.
Yeah,
I hear
it's
ya.
weird. Yeah, I haven't watched a single bit of the Lord of the Rings series, but if I put on my Quest 2 virtual reality, I'm in like one of the sets. They just
my.
launched like a Lord of the Rings virtual environment, and so that's what I go into. And I'm like, I haven't seen a frame of the show, but hey, let's go to Middle Earth.
wow, just
Uh,
put me on the deck of an Imperial cruiser with the lightsaber. With that, I mean, come on,
Oh,
So that's,
chop up some pots.
Vader Immortal for that one.
Oh
Yeah.
man, Vader Immortal, that game is unbelievable. I will
So
sit there for hours in that lightsaber dojo. I don't do
Hell
well
yes.
at all, but but
I was just doing Beat Saber before we got here, and that's kind of a little bit more high energy of the
Mhm.
lightsaber dojo, but I do like the dojo.
oh, it's great.
We might have to have you back. I'd love to talk about some Vader Immortal, a little bit
Oh,
of story in there.
absolutely. Oh,
That could be
anytime.
fun for another time. But right now, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So, start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I love Star Wars. I work in science, so just everything about science and science fiction just has always appealed to me, and I feel like Star Wars is just one of those like so many things can happen that it's so hard to and it's not like something that people think like, oh, that's make believe, but because it's so like it seems so genuine, especially with this like with Andor, the way that things are coming out, like I was watching I think it was John Favreau was saying about the Mandalorian, where he likes to make, or maybe it was Dave Filoni, but one of them were talking about how they like to make the sequences in their scenes look realistic. You know, like it was talking about the crane pulling out Mando's ship from the water. You know, and he was
Mhm.
like, it wouldn't just happen like that. You have to like make it look somewhat real. And I enjoy that they've always done that. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I love Star Wars. That's pretty much all. I mean, a lot about it. There's a lot more, but we only have so much time.
Yeah.
Even from the start, that's I think something that a lot of people appreciated about Star Wars. What is it's like a lived-in
Yeah,
science fiction. You
Mhm.
yeah,
know, like things look used, they look dirty, they look like they've been built and rebuilt and like scrapped together, like the Millennium Falcon.
Mhm.
And like I think that adds, like you said, this level of like realism or
right,
something to it that's a little bit easier to grasp than like, hey, here's a whole bunch of really shiny shit that's like
exactly, yeah,
just
Yeah.
far out
Well, like
there.
yeah, like it didn't take long. What are we at? 6 minutes flat. Like in Star Trek, where they can, where the Louis, my primary thing I do at this network is I run a Star Trek show, and I'm not a Star Trek guy. I'm the Star Trek guy, kind of in
sure,
the world in general. But yeah, with Star Trek, they can have replicators. So they can fashion new parts, whatever it is. But Star Wars, and to a point, Battlestar Galactica, which I would love for Mark to watch
We got to
someday,
get into it.
is just everything is just beat up and run down. And by the time you get to the OT, 20 years after the fall of the Republic and whatever it is, and you're getting the fledgling rebellion, which is obviously what we're seeing in Andor. They're just cobbling shit together and cobbling shit together. And the greatest example is in the Clone Wars, where they have those beautiful, pristine Y wings with all the housing and the painting is beautiful. And then by the time you see them when they're in the rebellion, all the housings are gone and the paint is trash.
yeah.
And it's like you're driving around in the Vista Cruiser from that '70s show, trying to blow up the Empire. That's the basically the military mind of the rebellion. But you know what? They still did it. They still managed to get the job done in the Vista Cruiser.
I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's exactly it. It's like you don't see. I do. I just I didn't. I've never watched Star Trek before. I just got into Star Trek Next Generation. I like it. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I'm having a good time watching so far. And then once I get through all these other series, I want to branch out into more Star
Good.
Trek. But
I would love a first timer's perspective,
yeah,
and you can come back in the show at some point and talk about the animated Lower Decks once Mark finally watches one, which is
I
sure.
have to watch that.
a very long time
Hard,
ago.
hard to keep up.
But I digress.
So before I get into the usual questions that I ask people, there's something interesting about you, especially in your Twitter profile, where it says you have a goal of being a Star Wars writer. So I have to ask a couple of questions first.
Sure.
Is what's your preferred medium? When you say writer, do you mean you want to write a book? You want to write a comic series? You want to write a script for a movie? You want to what's the writing? What
I I enjoy writing book. I would love to write a comic, but I don't think I think writing a comic takes a certain skill. That's different than writing a book. Just like you have to take like fill in a resume. The one that everyone says. Put everything on one page. Like you have to take the most important parts of their conversations. And make it significant for a comic. But in a book,
Mhm.
you can kind of draw it out. And I enjoyed doing that recently, though, especially with a bunch of series coming out. I've kind of find myself making their interactions seem more like, oh, this would make more sense like in a series or in like, people talking to each other as opposed to like in a book. So I kind of having a hard time doing that, but I enjoy writing books. You could just sit there and just write forever. Once you get going, gets going. Once you stop though, like, sometimes it is hard to get back to it once that flow is, gone. But
Absolutely. Uh, so what's your dream Star Wars story? Is it something completely original, set in a different time, or is it something that happens during kind of an established, known
I
universe time that we've seen?
I would like to write about what I'm currently writing about and what I would like to maybe one day have this published. It would be it's about not necessarily Mace Windu, but he was alive after. I mean, in my in my canon, but he was alive after, and he finds it force sensitive. He trains them. He's not in it. He's just really in the beginning. He like kind of comes back more in memory, and it's this young Padawan that he took on, kind of trying to, like work with his like Vapod. A lot of people pronounce it differently,
Mhm.
but trying to find that balance between light and dark that Mace Windu found so well. And so it leads them to getting into some missions. Sometimes, they dabble more into like Jedi teachings and, the Jedi holocrons, but like, sometimes they might fall into a Sith holocron, and kind of dabble into a little bit of that. And I don't think that you can use both light side and dark side. See a lot of people arguing on Twitter over that, but
Mhm.
you can definitely learn about it, and like, follow some sort of mindset. So it's kind of like this Padawan finding their struggle between light and dark. And because, especially with Mace Windu, he was able to, kind of perfect that, So
Mhm.
that's what I would like to write about. But I like anything. I saw something about I saw an image of young Yoda, and he had these like dreads on him, and he had some like he had like three lightsabers for whatever reason on him, but it was awesome. And I was like, writing something about a younger Yoda, maybe he's 300 or 400 years old, whatever his prime would be, but I think something like that would also be pretty cool. I also
That's
love
awesome.
the Old Republic. I love the Old Republic.
Mhm. That's amazing. Yeah, I'd read any single one of those.
Oh,
But I'd only read the Yoda story if he talked normally through the whole thing and then got kicked by a horse at the end, and that's how he talked backwards. That's the only way. Just a space horse just kicks him, and he's like,
He was
"Oh,
a li-
hurt that did." And people are like, "Dude, you okay?" He's like,
he
"Fine,
got
I am."
he got a little
It's
wonky.
like, Yoda, I don't think you're okay. You should see a space doctor. And he's just like, nah.
He got a little wonky, kicked by a donkey.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch!
a comment on that. Someone was saying, in if Yaddle comes out and she doesn't talk the way that Yoda does, or if Grogu
Right.
doesn't, they were saying that something's completely wrong with Yoda. It makes sense with Yaddle, but with Grogu, like it doesn't matter if my parents, spoke another language. If I'm raising, I'm saying I'm going to speak like that. So if Grogu speaks completely normal, that makes 100% sense. I just want to put
Exactly.
it out there, just because I probably will argue with someone on Twitter over this when Grogu
No,
speaks.
I get that. Yeah. Cause Grogu, yeah, you'd think he'd take after like Din's
Yeah,
speech patterns and
yeah,
accent and whatever. But Yoda and Yaddle, if their whole planet spoke like
right.
that, like it would kind of make sense. I get that. Yeah. Hopefully, I guess we'll see. I think we're seeing Yaddle and potentially voiced by like Bryce Dallas Howard.
That's what I
Oh
saw.
wow.
That's what I.
Right,
I
right.
saw that on Twitter
And we're
today. I
getting
didn't know if
that.
that was like real or just the bullshit, but I was like, oh, interesting.
That's this week, isn't it? The day that you're potentially listening to this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That drops, yeah. So
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
squeezing that in with Andor on Wednesday. Andor's Wednesday show, right?
yep.
Yep.
When,
And now She Hulk's done.
Wednesday for Star Wars, Thursday for Star Trek. Boop boop.
Right.
There we go.
There we go. All right, let's get into some other questions. So we heard about your perfect Star Wars story, but what was the Star Wars story that got you into everything? What's your introduction to Star Wars?
All right. My introduction to Star Wars. I first had it's. I could not tell you what this book was. It was literally just a book with Star Wars characters in it, and it kind of gave you like a brief, like Han Solo smuggled. Like that's it. It was like
Wow.
Han Solo's best friend or something, like. It was very very simple, and I just remember flipping through, and I love it. And I actually have this. It's not the original one, but this game for the Game Boy Color. I don't know how I used to beat this as a kid because I used to play this all the time. Can't get past the first level right now. I don't know why, but this game, I would just stay for hours. I think winning. I'm not sure, but but I was playing it, and then I found it for sale. It was like $4, and I was like, of course I'm gonna buy that. And
Absolutely.
then yeah, so original trilogy. Those characters really got me into it. But the first movie I actually watched was Phantom Menace, and I remember it
Wow.
vividly, and it was just the first time I saw Star Wars, the pod race, and I was like, this is, I don't know, it might have came out when I was younger, but I think I only watched it when I was like maybe like 10 or 11. And I was like, this is out of this world, literally out of this world. And I just, from then on, I loved it.
Nice. So one,
Wow.
two, three, four, five, six, was that the order, or did you just kind of like see them randomly being a kid and then kind of come back?
Yeah, I saw them randomly being a kid. I would watch Clone Wars like, every now and then, but I didn't really get into Clone Wars probably till like, I don't know, 2017. I used to stream in college.
Oh,
But
right.
yeah, but then I think it was 2019, probably like, yeah, a few months before COVID. I was
Mm.
just sitting there and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch all these movies. It was right before it came off of Netflix, I think, and I just haven't looked back since. I haven't looked back since. I always liked it, but
Awesome.
now you graduate, you got a little bit of spending money, you start buying all these lightsabers and a bunch of random stuff. So.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm happy you're in the Star Wars community. You're always on Twitter, just kind of making the place a better place. So that's always
Appreciate it.
appreciated.
I appreciate it.
What is your favorite movie?
A New Hope, hands down.
New Hope. All right.
A New Hope. I think a lot of people think there's like not a lot that goes on to it, but that was the start of it all. The
Right.
magic. Luke,
Yeah.
the two suns, the sunset, the score in the background.
Right.
Come
Yep.
on. That
Yeah.
is Star
All
Wars
right.
to me. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
And
Absolutely.
representing, his looking to the future, never his mind down, where he was,
Oh
what
yeah.
he was doing. But yeah, that is by doing that and having that desire, that is how he saves the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So, put that in your pipe of electric lettuce and smoke it there, Yoda.
Stealing the electric lettuce. I like
I
it. I
know
like
it's a good one. You know what?
it.
It's you didn't make it
It
up.
works. No, I definitely didn't. Favorite character?
Favorite character. I struggle with favorite character. I'll give you a few. Luke, Yoda, Darth Bane. Oh,
Ooh.
Maul and Maul. I
All
Right?
right.
Something about Maul is, it's him in the Phantom Menace. Just I wish that I had seen the original trilogy before I saw the Phantom Menace, because I just imagine that people, when they saw that double bladed lightsaber, went wild. But
Can confirm.
something about Maul, and then listening, or like reading the books. Like I'm reading Darth Plagueis right now, and like he's in that a little bit, and just seeing him, he developed so well. I'm so glad
Mhm.
they brought him back. Spoiler for anyone who has not watched anything in the past like 10 years, but he does come back, yeah. but
Yeah.
it so interesting him, being raised like pretty much from birth as a Sith. Just I would have loved to see if he had not died, but it
Yep.
was, or died twice, died the first time and then
Yep.
the second time.
For sure. Yeah. Super interesting character. Like, yeah. And one, yeah, again, like in the movie, he was cool, but then the character got so much depth
Oh yeah,
outside.
Mhm. Big
It's
time.
just incredible to
unbelievable.
see the animated stuff can do.
Oh, what about you guys? What are your favorite characters?
Luke and
I've
Din.
I've been a Luke guy since birth, and yeah, his whole story, his heroic grumpiness, which when you get to be my age, in your late 40s, is a natural state. So I got it. I mean, no matter what. But yeah, in just yeah, and Mark Hamill in general as an actor and as a media personality
Oh yeah,
is it's just so night and day from what you understand as a child to the way you see him as an adult, being an adult yourself. So
yeah.
it's awesome. He's awesome.
A lot of great characters he's voiced too. A lot of great
Mhm.
characters.
Mm. His Joker's just still defining Joker for me.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, his
Just
Joker, his
amazing.
Ozai. If you guys ever watched Avatar, his Ozai was just unbelievable. The Fire Lord Ozai. Oh man, I
Mhm.
forgot that it was him, and then I read something. I was like, that's why it was so familiar. But
Yeah.
he always nails it. He always nails it.
He does. He really does. Uh, if you had force powers, would you tend to go light side or dark side? Especially now learning about what you want to write about. This is an interesting question.
Which is why I struggle with it. I think that the dark side, it's exactly what Yoda says. Kind of like seems a lot cooler. You do a lot more like right off the get go, as opposed to your light side. You kind of got to train and find that piece. But once you find that piece, some of these Jedi, especially I love like Legends and all that, and some of these guys, unbelievable. I don't know. I think that if the Jedi didn't weren't so high on their morals, I think I would more easily like just pick light side. But I feel like 99% of what happens in Star Wars is because the Jedi are just like, yeah, we're above all this. We're not gonna really like interact with this or do something. But
Mhm.
I think I might still lean light. But I don't know, that middle always just kind of tugs at me. But dark side
Absolutely.
definitely is some cooler stuff. Definitely some
Yeah.
cooler stuff in the dark side.
We've had so many people be like, "I'd love to be good side, but I can't give up force lightning." And it's like there's something about that
Oh,
cool factor. It's just like,
crispy.
You know what?
yeah.
Especially when you play it in the Oculus and you start, like electrocuting everything, you're like, all right, if this is anything like what this feels like, then yes, definitely Dark Side, 100%.
Gi-
Yeah,
Give me that crispy chicken. I hear you.
Absolutely.
absolutely. What is your lightsaber color of choice?
Before I watched Clone Wars, I always thought it'd be cool to have a black lightsaber. And then I
Ooh.
saw Clone Wars.
The dark saber.
Anything that I imagined for a black lightsaber, the dark saber is way cooler. So really, I was just thinking, it's like a normal shaped lightsaber, but it was black. And they have like it looks like cracking inside of it, with the light and the white kind of peeking through. I absolutely think that if I could wield the dark saber, I absolutely would. Hands down. If not that, then maybe Mace Windu's, like purple lightsaber.
All right, solid answer. I think you're the first person to say the dark saber.
How can you not?
Yeah,
Like I
I'm,
said, I
I'm
always thought a
thinking
black lightsaber was cool, and then I saw the dark saber, and it was way better than what I thought it would be.
That's badass. I
They
like it.
nailed it.
Yeah, that is such a just an iconic lightsaber. Just the whole design, not even just
Oh,
the
yeah.
blade. Like the hilt is just like the whole thing is just like top notch. I like weird
Me.
lightsabers. Like Gunji's probably one of my favorite all
Oh yeah.
time lightsaber designs, just because
Oh, yeah.
it's just wood and it's so different, and
Clean.
I just
Very, very
love that.
clean.
Yeah,
The way that the
so
dark saber bounces off Din's armor too.
mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm.
they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
yeah, can't wait to see them back. Uh, all right, favorite affiliation. So like if you could hang with a group for a day or a week or indefinitely, would it be like the Jedi, bounty hunters? You going and hanging out with like just general rebels, Sith, Ewoks? We're not going to judge you. Like
Murder,
like what? Who's?
murder bears for the win.
Well, I wasn't considering Ewoks, but if you say that, I would like to hang out maybe like some of the old Republic Jedi, not
Mm,
necessarily some of
oh yeah,
like I'd like to hang out with Quinlan Voss anytime, but he sounds like a great time. Might
yes,
play very loose with the rules, but I would love to play with them. I don't know. I feel like the Sith, they're just like Palpatine never shows any emotion. Maul definitely never shows any emotion. Well, sometimes, but I don't know. I would
anger.
like to hang out with them, and I don't know if I'd want to be lectured by some of the Jedi Council members of like the prequel era. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I feel like
No, I think you're definitely onto something for me anyway. With like Quinlan Voss, like him, like Qui Gon to another,
yeah,
like
oh, I
those
love
the
hanging out with
Jedi that were like a little bit more hippie or like off the beaten path kind of thing. And we did see a lot of that in like the High Republic, Old Republic kind of days of like explore the Force how you want to, as long as you're kind of not a dick.
yeah.
So that was I like that. That's good. Um, and because of I added this one just for you. Favorite Star Wars book?
Like I said, currently I'm reading Plagueis. That one's awesome. I think that the Darth Bane trilogy might be one of the best just pieces of what media I don't know that I've ever consumed, whether it's watched or read anything. I love him, diving deep into like Sith holocron and Sith teachings, and like learning more. Talks about some of the Sith from the past and things that they do, and you learn more about him kind of coming and putting together the rule of two and training Darth Santa, and it was just that trilogy was a wild ride, and I definitely recommend it for anyone. You really get a lot, and there's a lot of lore. I'm a big lore nerd. I just love any sort of like continuity that it shows, and they really nailed it. They nailed it.
Nice, awesome. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
great. All right. I think we know a little bit more about you. We've cracked into your head and pulled out what we could. So let's talk about some news,
Let's
because
do it.
there's at least one exciting story going on. It's been a little bit slow the last couple of weeks, but we just got this is kind of breaking today. So take everything with a grain of salt, because yeah, this one's trying to keep under wraps. They said they weren't going to announce any new films, and then this one kind of leaked as a secret Star
Uh-huh.
Wars film
Right.
from Damon Lindelof and Miss Marvel's Charmine Obaid Chinoy. I hope I got that right.
I think you
She's
nailed it.
she's going to be
Yeah.
directing that one.
Even
Um,
3 minutes ago, if you refresh Google, oh, I love the cat.
I don't think
hey,
she agrees. I don't think she agrees. She's very skeptical. Um, yes,
so what were
very
you
much
saying
so.
there, Louis? Three
Even
minutes
three
ago?
minutes ago, if you refresh it, there's still like new news coming in about it, about
Oh
where
shit!
Oh
Wow.
my god!
it could be taking place, and
Right.
yeah, it seems like it's a big story.
I mean, you know, like I said, and I mentioned this in the pre-roll, but my initial skepticism is, and you know, Mark and I are still reeling from the fact that we want an X-wing movie, we want Patty Jenkins, you know, Rogue Squad movie of action, you know, the dogfighting, the World War II style, and then it's going to be this or Ryan John. You know, there was another rumor last week: Ryan Johnson's trilogy is still alive, or this thing or that thing, or what are they going to say? Tarantino is, instead of not doing Star Trek, he's going to now not do Star Wars or whatever. You know, and it was just Kathleen Kennedy back at New York Comic Con, I believe it was, which was last month. Oh, we're not going to have any Star Wars movie announcements for 2 years, whatever it is. I just, I I feel like we're to the point with this kind of stuff where I'm believing what I see, and that's just kind of where it ends.
Mhm.
You know what
Yep,
I mean?
I agree completely. I feel like a lot of news that we've gotten recently from Star Wars is, even with like games, they're working on, a remake of Old Republic. Oh, they're not doing it anymore. They're doing this game. Oh, they're not doing it anymore. And then what was it? How many trilogies have gotten put off? Ryan Johnson. Something came out the other day saying that he still plans on doing one of his movies, or his trilogy, but they don't know when, and they're like just trying to take their time. I get it. I appreciate it if they're trying to take their time, like make something good, but it also feels like they're just telling us things just because they think we want to hear them. Like, give us some concrete news.
That's
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, right now it's just vaporware. It's like Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson, Taika Waititi, Kathleen. It's like it's just, I don't know. Like it's I kind of get why Kathleen Kennedy was like, I'm just gonna shut up, and
Yep.
then this kind of leaked, and I don't know kind of who leaked it. I'm reading it on Deadline, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so at least reputable websites are posting this, but did it
Right.
come
Yeah.
from a reputable source? And it's kind of interesting that they have like a writer and a director attached to it, especially a director who's worked with Disney on a successful project that's well reviewed, that they probably want to kind of lock down for another project. So I'm I'm hoping that this is something real, but again, yeah, like you guys kind of said, take it take it with a grain of salt. And like, when are we gonna, like, apparently they're just working on the script right now, so this is
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
years away potentially from
But they
anything
need
real.
writers or something.
Yeah, they probably do.
I have
Send it.
no.
uh, so Louis, you said that they're still kind of speculating and potentially kind of, there's things coming out like when this could be set, who could be in it, all that kind of stuff. I saw something right before we started recording that was saying this could be set after the sequels with some sequel characters potentially.
Yep.
I know a couple of weeks ago we speculated like, um, John Boyega said he was just done, flat out, like, don't call me, I'm done.
Don't call me, I'm done.
Do you guys want this to be set kind of close with those characters without John? I know we talked, like, there was a big upheaval. I asked on Twitter, like, would people want John Boyega's Finn to be recast? And it was overwhelmingly not a freaking chance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do not recast.
You can't
So
ask them.
no, I don't think so. And
But
and I can't argue with that. Like, I mean, my son's name's Finn. The character has a lot of meaning to me, and John Boyega's portrayal and John Boyega as a person. I
oh yeah,
don't. It's Mark Hamill. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
think about that kind of replacement. But I'm also not sure if I just want like a Ray story without Finn after. Like, what? How do you explain that? Like, oh, Finn went off on vacation.
I'm,
Like,
I'm
yeah.
on vacation.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So that they just drive a dump truck full of money up to John Boyega's house and are like, please? or do they do something different? What do you guys want from this? And again, this is, we're hours after this drop leaked, whatever. What's your initial feeling on this, Louis?
I you definitely can't recast, but it just has to make. I feel like they didn't really leave us in a place where like we could even guess what could come next. Like the last thing was literally, I'm Rey Skywalker. Okay, now what? Are you gonna, are you building a new Jedi school, a new Jedi Order? Who else is coming along in the galaxy? Because the Empire's already gone. The First Order's gone at this point. So it has to make sense. And I don't know. I feel like maybe yeah, I'm for it. I enjoyed the sequels. They're not my favorite, but I enjoyed them. There were definitely a lot of moments that I enjoyed in them. Visually, it was spectacular. But I think maybe they'd be better off just kind of moving away from that entire timeline in general. Or just exploring something else. It could be way in the past. Could be like 100 years in the future. I feel like that's a lot harder because I feel like no one really explored anything towards the future of Star Wars. But it's just as long as it makes sense, I'm okay with it. I would not want them to recast Finn. I think that they hyped him up at first, and they kind of didn't really do him justice. Like as the movies progressed, I would love to see them kind of give him his redemption. I think that a lot of people expected that once he picked up that lightsaber that he was going to end up being a Jedi, stormtrooper turned Jedi, like that'd be incredible. So maybe we get to see something of that. I don't know if it's too far gone at this point, but
Right.
you know,
Would be ideal. Charlie, what about you?
You know, I can't give a great answer simply because I don't have that deep of a layer with these characters the way that they didn't really connect with me in the same fashion. I loved Poe and I loved Ray. I never really warmed up to the character of Finn. I'm sorry. I thought his behavior in particular, in the Last Jedi in particular, was reprehensible. So I never really clicked with him. So, and we've talked a lot of times, not only on this show, but certainly over on SFU Prime about, if we're really going to be bold with Star Wars, let's push super far out or super far back
yep.
and start over with something. Here's 1,000 years in the future, or we're back to KOTOR, which is at least 1,000, 5,000 years back, whatever it is. I mean, that I would like to see something big and bold, but I could see. I think recasting is absurd because I think they don't really have so much to go on with the character of Finn that having him there would make it integral. And I don't see how they could do it without John Boyega. So it would have to be the ongoing Ray story or the ongoing Ray plus Poe story or whatever it is. But yet to think about recasting it just doesn't really click with me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Louis, I think you kind of said it, kind of what I was thinking. If they can't get John back, said I don't even know if it has to be exactly like 100 years, but I'm thinking like the opening crawl is like Ray Skywalker has died. And you
Sure.
set it whatever it is 60, 80 years, however old she gets to be, and then that's the opening crawl. She's dead. The Skywalkers are a new form of Jedi that she's trained up to be peacekeepers, and they're fighting whatever the hell, and here's your MacGuffin, and have fun. And it's that way you kind of tie it to what happened a little bit, but you're only jumping like whatever 50, 60, 80
Yep.
years in the future, whatever it is. So it's not that disconnected from everything, and you can still have like Grogu kind of make an appearance or something, or like some semblance of ties, but you don't need everything. You can have like an elderly broom kid kind of thing and Grogu hanging out.
What?
Oh,
No.
the battle for Broom Kid goes on.
I really like that's one of the things about the sequels that I was just like, okay, now where are you going with this? Because they just
Right.
nothing. And I'm okay if they were doing and like hinting at something, but it's like, all right, now let's just never get back to it again. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's yeah, so and that kind of stuff. for me, like I already mentioned, I'd love to see some of that fleshed out more in like an animated series. Think of what the Clone Wars animated series did for the prequels. Like watching the prequels after watching the Clone Wars is so much more emotional. You have so
Oh
much
yeah.
more attachment to the characters and you know so much more about what's going on. And I think the sequels could benefit from that as well. But then you could also do movies that are a little bit more detached or whatever. So I guess we'll see. Hopefully, if this is a real project, we'll see where it goes in the next couple of years. But until then, we have Andor to enjoy. So let's get into our little recap, refresh of Andor 6 and 7. As usual, we're not going to be doing super in-depth breakdowns of these. Charlie, I saw you put up
I
some
did.
notes.
I did. I do this on my show just because trying to riff it from memory is a little difficult, and I don't put it here so that we can read it. But it's nice if I'm talking. I said, "Well, blah blah." This guy, what the hell was his name? Nobody knows. And
I
then this
appreciate
guy,
it.
who was that guy? Nobody knows. So this way, we got some notes.
I appreciate it. At this point, I'm going to have to, I do want to say, ask you guys what you thought overall. But the first thing I have to read is from Peanut, friend of the show,
Oh,
at
Peanut,
Ray Skygoat
such a sweetheart.
on Twitter. If you're not following Peanut, just pause right now. Just go follow Peanut. She's amazing. So I said, "What did you think overall of these episodes?" And her response was, "It was some beautiful, mind the language, fucking Star Wars. God, the emotions." Um, and imagine me saying that in a delightful British accent, and it'll be half as delightful as Peanut would be. Um, I think that might be the only response I got back. I don't think there's anything on Discord. Let me check very quickly. No, there's not. Okay, so with that, what did you guys think overall, Louis?
Oh no, go ahead if you had some, Charlie.
I didn't
Charlie?
know. I was going to say that's why I have the notes here. This show continues to burn along slowly, and I still can't make my mind up. And this is what you and Peter and I talked about last time. If it's worth it that it's burning this slowly, or if it needs to be burning this slowly. If it doesn't need to be boom bang pow, more stuff going on. If it's too talky, I know that both in the core OG SFU brain trust of myself and Todd Oxtra and John Sear, we were college roommates that got this all started together. I'm the only person still watching the show because the two of them have just pieced out. It's too slow even for somebody who is pretty serious about Star Wars like John is, and for somebody like Todd who is really take it or leave it with Star Wars, you could kind of see where he's pieced out of it. It's different enough that somebody who's very action oriented and stuff that they enjoy, like Extra, it's not enough for him. Um, and even to my point, it's just we threw a rod and the car's not driving fast enough. We've got 12 episodes, and I said from the jump, well, they dropped the first three on the same time because if they dropped the first one, nobody would have watched the second one, outside of the very, very hardcores. And I consider myself to have a pretty hardcore. But again, my question is, could they be doing more with the time that they have? Or is it going to turn into like the last 5 minutes of an episode of Star Trek where like, damn it, we got to wrap stuff up and blah, 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 and all this stuff happens. So I'm just trying to figure out, back, on the corpos on his home planet, whose name I'm already forgetting. Was that all worthwhile? Is his, quest to find his sister, is that worthwhile? Is that going to circle back around? Because again, we have two 12-episode seasons, which is longer than anything else that we've had in Disney Plus Star Wars so far. But the question is, I'm still waiting for the why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
And it might just be foolish enough for me to think that I, as a consumer of this media, can figure out where, that somebody's driving the bus, that it's really going to be like, oh, there we go. All the threads have coalesced into something that now it's set Andor on this inexplicable path, because, again, this is 5 years prior to BBY, and then season 2 is 1 year prior to Rogue One, essentially, I believe is how they have it splayed out. So where do the threads come together? how arrogant am I that I'm like, well, I just it's too boring or whatever it is.
See, that's one of the problems that I had, and like it was, if the threads aren't interesting enough when they come together for a sweater, you're still going to be like, that was some boring fucking thread.
Yeah.
Like,
This is a
like
boring sweater.
the
Forget
sweater
about
could
it.
be like a very competent sweater, but like, damn, why'd you have to pick beige? Like, there are other
It is a
threads
very
you can go
beige
with.
sweater of a Star Wars
It's,
show, isn't it?
and for me, like episode 6 especially, like that's what I've been waiting for. It was high tension, high stakes, emotional action, like reasons to fight, looking at what the empire's doing to cultures and things, and it like finally kind of gave me a reason to be like, oh, this is where Cassian kind of gets in. He sees it ground level. Louis, what are your thoughts on 6 and 7?
I will say, I will agree with what Charlie was saying earlier. If they had not released the first 3 episodes at the same time, I think that they would have had a lot of different results, because it really was nice the way that it was like all 3 of them kind of tied into each other. If they were all alone, I don't know how like much it would have made sense or how much it would draw people in. But these last 2 episodes, I think, have by far been the best too. I think that the actors are just absolutely nailing just the suspense, that they have. Mon Mothma even walking through her own place, talking to this Tay guy whose face I do not trust. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
He has a look about him that I cannot trust. But even her like talks, like faking a smile. She's like, she says to him too, fake that smile, like look like you're laughing. I think they're doing a really good job doing that. Just walking around. Even was it Gorn? Walking around, in the Imperial base that he was, betraying. But that's just such a huge risk, and I loved it. The visuals in the eye were crazy. I think that what I like about it is I feel like their interactions are pretty realistic. I feel like in a lot of shows they don't really like, even in books sometimes the stars I'll be reading, and everyone in the room knows what's going on, about a specific event or a specific mission, and they're still explaining, saying out loud, like, why are they doing that? Everyone in the room already knows what you're talking about. So obviously it's to explain to the audience. But I noticed in episode 5, they had someone new come in, so it wasn't like this guy's just explaining like what the eye is to everyone in the room who's already saw it, and already knows what it is. So I like how it's pretty authentic. I like even like the deaths. I feel like they were very sudden, and it wasn't some long, emotional, drawn out, like, oh no, he's dying. Like, nope, they get shot, they're done, because that's exactly what it is. You're in the heat of battle. You got to keep doing. You have this mission that you got to complete. There's no time to, be sobbing over. You get Val saying just one no, and that's it. Like you got to keep it going. And I appreciate that they're being realistic. The scene with the TIE fighters chasing the freighter up on the eye, I thought that was another, like kind of magical, it's obviously a lot better graphics than way back in the day, but I think that was Star Wars. I think anytime you have TIE fighters, you can't really go wrong with it.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
the sound, just saying TIE fighters, exactly the sound comes to your mind. It's
Yep.
just, I've loved it. I've loved it so far. Well, at least the last 2 episodes. The other ones I enjoyed, but I love the last
Right.
2 episodes for sure.
You're sticking with it at least.
Yeah, I mean we're all sticking with it, obviously, but it's a tough slog, but it's less tough, or it's a different kind of difficult than like the Book of Boba Fett was, where it's like, oh, they're just
Yeah.
not doing anything, and we loved Boba Fett, but this is like Darth Vader as Anakin. We
Yeah.
just we had enough with that. We could love and respect Darth Vader when he wasn't a whiny teenager whining about how he doesn't like sand. It just you gave us too much, and it destroyed our concept of this character. So, I mean, we didn't have a lot of Cassian to go on to, but what we had was really great. So,
Right.
my fear is that is this a dilution of what makes this character great, or because he seems just as grumpy and emotionally inaccessible at the beginning of this series as when we meet him in Rogue One. So it's not like they come along and he's this happy-go-lucky slappy guy like dee 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 dee, and
Mhm.
something happens and I'm like, no, I'm a serious rebel guy and I'm the captain in rebel
Right.
intelligence. Brr, 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 brr. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm watching with wonder and a little bit of I just a little bit of uncertainty. But we're in. This is episodes. These are episodes 6 and 7. We have a few left, and where's this gonna wrap before this big time jump?
Yeah.
I have some theories on that, but I want to ask Louis. You mentioned a couple like the character moments with Mon Mothma, the scenes of like the Eye, which I thought was some of the most breathtaking Star Wars. Any other character scenes or scenes in general that stand out to you guys?
Um, I thought Nemec's death was unexpected. I figured most of them would die, but
Yep.
I didn't expect that that's how it was going to end up.
Right.
I thought, um, was it? Yeah, Admiral Yularen.
Oh yeah.
And he spoke to Palpatine. I thought that I was like, oh man, Cyril. I think that's the guy, Cyril, right? That's his name. I
Mhm.
do not do so far. Don't care about him. Don't like. There's just he just sounds like a guy who is just very uptight, and I don't know what his deal
He's
is.
he's the Norman Bates of Star Wars. I think we're going to see the skeleton of his mother in a chair at some point. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
Oh
something
yeah.
like that. But like right now, tough. He's a tough character to like. He's a tough character to see on screen.
Mhm.
I mean, if they're going for this, boring character, then they nailed it. They nailed it.
Right.
And I think that might be what they are going for. Like he's a very serious guy, very by the book guy, and I think that that's what they're going for. And I think like I said, I think a lot of these actors are nailing what they're supposed to be doing. But when you nail a character that's really, really boring, he comes out really, really boring, and it's very hard. And I hope that we get more out of him because it's just more Star Wars. But I don't know. I don't know. Did you guys notice when Mon Mothma was talking to Luthen? Was it Clay? She was in the back. I think she was recording or listening in. Is she
Mhm.
the spy? Is she against him, or was she recording that for him?
Yeah,
I, I've
that's the
asked
thing. Like
her.
every episode, there's that little thing that you're like, oh, I gotta watch. I gotta see where that's going.
Yeah, I can't trust anyone.
Yeah,
Right.
What is
Right.
there's some good tense parts.
yeah, for
Right.
sure.
I loved the just little things like aside from those like big parts or like the cool little the pilots getting into the hanging TIE fighters. Thought
Oh
that was
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And then
Oh,
anytime I can get like smaller planetary like tribe cultural stuff in Star Wars, like I love the group looking at the eye and all that kind of stuff. Brought me back to like the Book of Boba Fett and learning more about the Sand People and that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Right.
I love that, just kind of galaxy building, not even world building. It's great. And then the shot that put Han and Greedo to shame. Holy tap dancing shit! That one just like got me. Just man, yeah, with the two of them talking about, oh yeah, we
It
can
was quick. It was quick.
like
Yeah. Right.
just
And
Right.
I think that's another thing that they do because I feel like in something like this, you just expect it. I feel like once you saw it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes 100% sense.
Right.
Why didn't I see it coming?
yeah,
And I figured I was like, there was a point where I was like, oh, he's gonna kill him, and then he didn't. I was like, all right, I guess he's not. Boom, dead. And I was like, all right, didn't care for Skeen at all. I didn't care for that guy at all. Tell you that much.
I thought it was going to be a test. I thought he was going to be like, okay, well, like, I thought Andor was going to be like, no, we're not going to do that. And he was like, good, that was a test. Okay, now you're in. And instead, it's just like, bam, you're done. Like, it scared the shit out of me because I was just, my mind was going in a complete other direction of like, he's acting as this like selfish shithead and like saying he wants to take off with 50-50 whatever, leave the others. And I really hook line and sinker thought that was a test.
Oh yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I do love some of the lines that dropped in episode 7 as well. Mon Mothma's I've learned from Palpatine, I show you the stone in my hand so you miss the knife at your throat.
she's
Badass.
she's not playing at all.
And then it was the Empire is choking us so slowly we're starting not to notice the time has come to force our hand. Thought that was pretty amazing as well. Just like very, very iconic Star Wars kind of lines of like,
Right.
just you're seeing these seeds of the rebellion that yeah, they're just fed up. They're like we've always seen like they're the rebels, they're the good guys, but like this
Right.
is more. I think I find just like they're fed up. I'm really getting like that underground rebels kind of
The turning
feel.
point. I think we're
Right.
starting to see,
Yeah.
the turning point of
Turn.
it's
Right.
like we're not taking this anymore. It's been too long. We've all been under their thumb. Nobody's enjoying it, and they're starting. It's exactly like even Marva. She was like, "I don't
Mhm.
care." He was like, "You can't beat the Empire," and she said, "Yeah, not running. I can't. Not
Yeah.
if I run."
Mhm.
Oh, that was another good line, and I think that this was they're doing a good job at showing people really just getting fed up. I honestly thought the Aldani people were going to have some sort of role in that mission. I
Right.
thought
Yeah,
that had,
me too.
but I guess not. But
Yeah. Charlie, what about you? Any like standout scenes, lines,
I mean, I think you
moments?
nailed it. I think the ending bit that we got at the end of episode 7, where like, yeah, somebody, he's sitting in that court, and they're like, "Oh man, you're my 5th case this week," and I got him. It's too bad you didn't have this infraction a week ago, of which he did nothing. He was wandering through, and some shore trooper comes along, and then a robot comes along and chokes him, like, "You stay here. You're in jail for 6 years." Too bad that things change because of these recent laws or whatever. But if you spit on the sidewalk, you got to go to jail. So, I mean, obviously, that's not going to last for about a second. And within the first 3 minutes of the next episode, he's going to be on his way. Yes,
I have
speak,
I have I have theories.
I do as
please.
well.
I hope your theory is the same as mine.
I think it
Okay.
is.
Does it tie
Okay.
in with Ezra's family?
Say it again.
Does it tie in with Ezra's parents?
Those was parents.
Oh no! I would
Oh,
want to hear
okay.
that. Though.
So this season takes place during 5 BBY, which is
Right.
Yep.
when Ezra Bridger joins the Spectres. Um, Ezra's parents are in jail at this point. And somewhere we know that this season's going to be taking some time jumps, and the rest of the seasons are all going to be taking some time jumps. So at some point during the next year or two, Ezra's parents are in jail. They hear a message from Ezra and they lead a breakout attempt where everyone escapes but them. Does
Oh.
Cassian meet Ezra's parents, and do they break him out of jail while sacrificing themselves?
Really did not even enter the orbit of the sphere of the galaxy that I would have ever thought of such a thing.
I know
That
they keep
is
saying we're not getting fan service, but like
right.
to me, that
Well,
would
but you say we're not getting fan service, but as Lothians walk around the shop, it's they have the Shankara stones are in the background there. You know what I mean? So there's fan service that goes far above and beyond.
I'm
yes.
okay. I'm a fan. Service me. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yes. That's what she said. What? Oh my God! No, that's not going to work.
So all right. So and I don't know exactly the year that the parents die, and it could be, and again, I don't know where this season's going to end up. If there's going to be a bit of a time jump, is he going to be in prison for a bit? He's not going to live out that 6-year sentence because
Oh,
Oh
obviously.
God, no.
this happens. 6 years would take him after the Battle of Yavin, which we know he's not in prison for.
Right.
Louis, what was your theory then? If it's completely different than mine.
I saw one that, and it's a good point. When I rewatched it, I noticed this as well. He looks younger. He doesn't have the scar from the shot. It could be a flashback. It could be because he does look younger when I saw it. I feel like in the money box that he had over the shower, there wasn't much in there. There's no way that would have been the result of this big heist that he just pulled off. And what was it? The a woman he was talking to made it seem like they were kind of like established there, like they already knew people there. But this
Mm.
seems like it was only like it didn't give any time jump from when we last saw him on Ferrix to this, So I think it could be a flashback, maybe when he was looking for his sister, especially because Marva had just told him to stop looking for it, and maybe he was thinking back about something. But I don't know. It seems like he's not that far removed from leaving Ferrix. But who knows? I don't know. The Ezra one, I like that one better.
So you're thinking they stuck in a secret time jump, and it's just going to be kind of a bait and switch,
Yeah,
kind of where he learned his skills
yeah.
potentially. Like a mercenary for hire, it makes sense that he spent a little bit of time in jail and came out with some certain skills.
Yeah, I also feel like him just like looking around, it was so naive, like such like I feel like as like someone who's like a spy and like constantly undercover, he would know to not always just, be looking over his shoulder. He looks suspicious, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But
Yeah, you think like a seasoned Cassian would kind of be able to talk his way out
oh,
of
yeah,
a
Right.
scout trooper just being like, "What are you doing on the beach?"
right.
Yeah, right.
Something. He just kind of he was just like, "Oh shit, I
I'm
don't know."
doing something.
Yeah, I'm being sketchy. What's it to you? Uh, Man, yeah, that's I like that too. I can't
Right.
go wrong with either of those theories. Charlie, do you have a theory of what we're going to see next?
Oh
Kind of round us
gosh.
out here.
No, I guess I am kind of flying by the seat because I was just like drag, 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 drag. Oh, now something's happening. But yeah, I guess I was real to the point that I didn't really have another idea of what could happen next. So yeah, I'm theoryless. So I'm
Mm.
going into this. I'm somewhat lack of boldness. So I'm just ready to take on what comes next. So yes, amazing. I'm a fan service me. There we go. That's our new catchphrase. Thanks to
I like
Luis. That's our new catchphrase. I'm a fan service me.
it. This and just popped in my head as well. This could be when we meet K2. Like he could just repurpose a KX droid and it
Right.
Yeah.
becomes
If
K2 and helps him escape and fuck it, there we go.
if there was something that makes me think that this isn't a flashback, it would be that
Mm.
just met him and and that's how everything happens, and yeah, maybe reprograms him something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but who
Yeah, the
knows?
few ways out of it. I love the thinking of that flashback bit though. That's
That
really
was
cool.
that was not my idea. I saw someone floated on Twitter, and I just kind of built on it. And then I was watching it again, and then I was like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense.
All right. I've got like when it was like you're going to jail, I started like I've got pages of like Ezra's parents, like when were they in jail, when did they die, trying to get the dates
Ooh.
and stuff before and I just finished this episode today as well, a little behind the scenes. I was a
Yeah.
little delayed. I didn't get to watch it on the weekend like I usually do. So I finished that and then I was like, he's going to prison? What year is this? Oh, who else is in prison? What else happened right there?
He's
So
gonna.
that's where
Mark's
I'm at.
pulling out his vision board. Boop, boop.
That's,
Yep,
that's it. Wikipedia comes
and
with a
that's
recipe.
that's how it is now. Especially like having Twitter. Like I
Right.
just got into like Star Wars Twitter kind of recently, probably in March, and there's so many different ways now to look at things. Looking for Easter eggs, and looking
Mhm.
for like little connection of what else is going on during this time that I could link this to, and possibly try to figure out what direction that they're going in. And I would have never thought. It's like you said, it wasn't even this. Nowhere in my mind was that thought that he could meet Ezra's parents, and I'm on board. I feel
Right.
I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen now. And
I mean, well, you heard it
Nice,
here
man.
first, folks, or maybe not. I don't know. Someone else probably theorizing this as well. I think that's about it, though, fellas. We're coming up on an hour. Is there anything else about these episodes or about what you'd like to see? Are you still on board? Are you still happily watching every week, Louis?
I am. I am. I wish that I would just take off every Wednesday morning and watch it, when it comes out. Can't do it. Been trying to sleep earlier, but I still watch it the second I get home from work. Sometimes I'll leave work early just to watch it. Are we getting Andor? So Andor comes out for Wednesday, and Wednesday's the 26th. So we're getting both of them on the same day?
Yeah, they do it with Star Trek sometimes too. They're overlapping. The new show is starting while one is in Lower Decks is ending and Prodigy is coming back this Thursday. So yeah, they do it sometimes, but it's just the Star Wars drop, the Tales of the Jedi is just it's like four shorts or six
Yeah,
shorts.
something like that. I think,
Yeah,
yeah. Pretty
So
excited about it too, yeah.
yeah, good
yeah.
time.
I asked this last time. I want to know, Charlie, if your opinion changed, and Louis, what your opinion is before we go. Do you think this show works better as week to week serial, or do you think they should have dropped it all? Like they dropped the first 3 episodes. Do you think they just should have just done it all to make like? Because I
It's
think if it was all available,
it's
people
just
would just be
it's
like,
just too
I'm
damn
gonna
slow.
power through.
And yeah, it's not creating the stakes and the suspense
Mhm.
for it to be justifiably, or for it to be episodic or standalone. That would be one thing. For it to be like here's a bunch of, like I said, if they didn't drop those first 3 episodes at once, nobody
Mhm.
would have made it past the first one because it was that glacial. So yeah, I really don't think so. Obviously, from a business standpoint, ostensibly from the 10,000 foot view, the Disney people are like, oh, we can't give them all the stuff at once because then everybody will leave. Well, nobody's going to leave. You're
No,
pumping out all this various content. You got Marvel, you got Star Wars. Nobody's ever leaving. Okay, the hardcore, the people who are really into this shit, we're lifers. Our subscription will be continuing after we're in the ground. It's just you can't get away from it.
Bleak.
So yes, so you're right. It would be a credit to them to give us something that is a 12 episode film in sequence right
Right.
away without all of this. So, but it is what it is. April and I were early risers. We watched this first thing on Wednesday before we start our day. We'll continue to do that. That's just the way it's going to be. So we'll be there. I'm hanging on for bitter grip because that's my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. We need to talk about it here. So I appreciate the hanging on. Louis, what about you? Do you like the week to week, or do you think this series in particular would feel better all dropped?
I think that this series definitely is better when you watch it. Everything. I honestly, I even thought this about kind of the Kenobi series as well.
True.
I think that when I first watched, obviously some of the episodes in Kenobi like really stood out to me, but I thought some of them wasn't as great. But after everything came out, I rewatched the entire thing, and I've been doing that with Andor as well. I think when you watch them, close together, one right after another, I think it flows a lot better, and you're not. It's not that you're left wondering. It's always nice that they leave you wondering what could be going on, but I feel like sometimes you really just don't know at all. And I feel like Charlie was saying, the first 3 episodes is very tough to watch by themselves.
Mhm.
But together, it just flows better. Does it? I think maybe even a movie, like one movie of pick out just like the most important parts. You could have like Andor, a Star Wars story, or something like that. I think people would have loved that.
That's kind of what I'm feeling of this. Of like there's some fat that you could trim.
Yeah.
There's some beige that you could take out of the sweater, and it makes it more interesting. But I'm
Oh
glad.
my goodness!
I'm hoping this finishes at a good point. We have a very
Right.
interesting poncho at the end of it, and it's not
Yes.
even a sweater at all. They surprised us with the
Right.
Star Wars
Poncho it,
poncho.
blow it out. Give me a poncho.
That's
Oh,
it.
ponchos are so big in Star Wars now. I thought that I was revolutionary when I gave my character a poncho, and then Fallen Order came out, poncho, and then everything else you see in Star Wars now is a poncho and whatever. I
Like
love
they
it though.
like they say, it's
It's a
called
good look.
fashion. Look it up.
Louis, thanks so much for joining us. This has been an absolute
Thank
blast.
you guys.
This is awesome. Tell people where they can find you on the internet, and if there's anything that can we find like your writing and stuff in any places, or is that kind of like your own thing?
I've been thinking that I need to. Well, for this book, I kind of want to keep it under wraps. But I have other stuff that I've been working on, and some people are like, just release it, chapter at a time or something like that, or even just short stories. I might start doing that. Maybe when I have some more time. I've been taking a lot of my time has been with the printing. This has been fun, actually. I've been printing this for the Tales of the Jedi. So that's going to be that Inquisitor mask. So
Ooh, nice.
so
That's
it's been
cool.
taking up a lot of time. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. Where you can find me is Mark. You might know this better. My at Dinsjarin 327, maybe an underscore somewhere. We'll
Oh,
We'll
see.
find out.
I don't think so. It's Dinsjaron327.
Yeah, something like that. But
It
yeah,
will be in the show notes. You can just click it and just go right to you.
yeah. Mark will give you the right answer. I honestly don't know sometimes, but but you guys
Fantastic.
have me on. It's been great. I definitely would love to come back and
You got it.
love tuning in.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much, man. Yeah, absolutely love to get you back. Charlie's not a big video game guy, but I think we could get him caught up on some of the Vader Immortal because there's some really interesting lore stuff in there,
Like
like
I
the
said,
uh,
give
the
give me
Padme
give me
fucking
the
cube thing.
cutscenes. Give me a cutscene movie to watch, and I'll be right there with you.
Oh,
I'm sure
absolutely. Mark,
that
did you
exists.
did you get a decal for it for your Oculus?
No.
Oh, look at this.
Oh boy, here
I
we go.
think this is the coolest decal for an Oculus that I've ever seen.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
I saw it and I was like, I have to get this. And
Blew out,
I
blew
love
out.
having it over and playing with it because it just looks so awesome.
That's
But
awesome. Like, Etsy or something? Where is it? We
Yep,
gotta
that's
see
it.
Etsy. Okay, all right.
I do. I
I
do.
gotta
I
look
do
that
love
up.
Etsy.
You gotta.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Awesome.
Yep. That's gonna happen. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Charlie, you want to play us out?
Well, first I can tell you where you can find me on the socials.
That's what
Excuse
I
me.
meant.
That's what he
Yeah.
meant. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3. I'm out there yicky yakking away and having a good old time. My lovely wife April and I also run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the biggest chapters of the Star Trek International Fan Club in the world. You can find us at a website of that name and across all socials at that tag. I also do what I can to fill up the coffers of content over on our Secret Friends Unite Facebook community. So find us there as well. Mark, what about you?
You can find me everywhere on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and our Discord channel as _Canardian. Love some people to join the Discord. We always have great talks going in there. We've been talking a lot about virtual reality, actually, which has me excited with the Oculus stuff, but always some Star Wars and geeky chats going on in there as well.
Most deaf. Sweet. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. To keep on trucking.
May the Force be with you.
Force be with you. Yep. Andy with you.
Rex, play us out. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.